Tom Curran's Patriots Talk podcast is presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into Tom Curran's Patriots Talk podcast featuring the Senator Phil Perry. Training camp 2023 is upon us. Now, real football will not start for a few days, but Bill Belichick was optimistic in a Tuesday morning press conference about a few key players being ready for the start of camp on Wednesday. Now, the Senator and I will delve into that. Also, what you can expect from these first few days, the status of Jack Jones, an intriguing wide receiver addition, and the biggest questions that need answering between now and September 10th. That's the opener. Today, the team will take part in its conditioning run. After that, Bill?
We have the schedule laid out with the league for, what the time and practice, protocols are. So work through that, and then next week we'll be ready to put on the pads, get out there, and start real training camp. But it's a good build-up process, and so it's good to get going.
Phil, how are you?
Doing good. Ready to go.
Let's go then. I think it's important to underscore that every year that this ramp-up period is basically an extension of the OTAs. So while we're going to diligently record and report, don't go bananas if Mac Jones goes 28 for 28 against Air.
Yeah, and I think it is important to point out, I think the reasons why this has been sort of a slow ramp up. Obviously, there are rules in place that prevent the Patriots from going hard real early. But Tom, it wasn't all that long ago where they would do the first couple of days, no pads, but it was within the first week, the pads were on and they were hitting, and it was loud and it was competitive, and they were on the goal line and it was intense, and guys would get banged up. And I think part of the reason we've seen this, I would say, significant downshift in practice intensity is to just keep these guys healthier for longer. And I got to say, I haven't done a lot of statistical research when it comes to this with the Patriots in particular, but it felt like they had a pretty healthy year last year. Jake Bailey got hurt in the weight room. Mac Jones got hurt, but he doesn't get hit in camp anyway. And so it feels to me like even though the intensity in these practices really throughout the summer, you're talking about the start, but it's really throughout, even though that's been dialed back, I don't think they were really that much worse off because of it last year. Their problems, and they had a bunch, but they weren't physical. They weren't physical problems last year.
They didn't jump into remember in 2021, they would often start with goal line and red zone, 10-yard and in, goal to go stuff really early. And that, I think, was, baptism by fire for the players. But what's interesting is just philosophically, if you look at an NFL salary cap that's now $230 million and you have $25 million outside linebackers, as opposed to, I remember when Willie McGinnis signed an extension in 97 or so, or 98, was 5 years and $25 million, and that was eye-popping. So you got a guy the players are paid 5 times more. And I know inflation accounts for some of it, but owners look at these guys as more valuable commodities than they were. And they do have to look at them, certainly as players and individuals, but okay, how much do I pay this employee? If I'm paying this employee $25 million as opposed to $750,000, which I may have been doing 2 or 3 decades ago, I'm going to try and keep him out of harm's way as much as I can so that he can actually exercise his employment ability. Speaking of exercising their employment ability, Jack Jones, according to Bill Belichick, will be out there. Here's Bill on the embattled cornerback who was pinched at Logan Airport for a couple of guns in his luggage.
Yeah, Jack will be out there. Legal situation that I can't comment on that's ongoing.
Do you plan to stand by him while the situation's ongoing?
Can't talk about it. It's a legal process.
How about your reaction personally to it aside from anything legal?
Yeah, can't comment on it, Tom. Love to, but.
Just by the tone of Bill's answer, Phil, it sounds as if he is very much solidly behind Jack Jones. Am I inferring too much? But it's like there was no hesitation. There was no veiling of what the plan is. He'll be out there.
to me, it was very clear. Hey, this is a legal situation. We have nothing to do with it. We're going to wait on that, see what happens with that, and we'll go from there. It was
but he didn't hem and haw and show any discomfort about the topic. As like, you know what I mean?
And I think that's because he's expecting that question to get asked, and he knows, hey, if he's going to be out there, we don't want to make it seem like we don't feel good about having him out there. We are, we're going to project almost indifference when it comes to this legal matter until it gets resolved. And so that to me was clearly how he wanted to approach it. He's got to be annoyed at the very least with the player, I would think.
Yeah, can't be happy about it. And still, it begs the question of how in God's name do a pair of guns, even unbeknownst to you, end up in the general vicinity of your luggage? Like, what are you doing with your time? So I think the Patriots will probably want to interrogate that. I mean, they claimed a decade ago with Aaron Hernandez that they were duped. They had no idea what he was up to. I'm not saying that Jack Jones unknowingly having guns in his luggage is certainly the same as a psychopath like Aaron Hernandez, but you have to look into these situations because you can't get duped twice. As George W. Bush said, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me second time, I'm the fool. Whatever he said.
I think it was, don't do it again.
That's great. Won't get fooled again. All right, Lawrence Guy, also in a lighter topic, reportedly is here, according to Mike Reese, and here's Bill Belichick when we interrogated him on Lawrence Guy's situation.
Lawrence Guy wasn't here for minicamp. Has he reported?
The players report later this morning.
Do you expect him to report?
Yeah, I guess so.
Do you know if he'll report?
Well, we'll find out in an hour or so. I don't know. I haven't been in there. They're doing physicals. That gets started here in a few, 8:30 or somewhere in there. So I don't do physicals. Doctors do those. But, yeah.
Phil, we'll probably try and find out, and we eventually will, whether this was related to a raise or being cowed by the idea of a $50,000 a day fine.
And I'm interested to know, once we get out to the practice field, if this is a hold in, Tom, if there is no raise. That's one way to avoid the fine is you report to camp and you say, hey, yeah, sorry, guys, I'm just not going to be able to get out there on the field for you today. Right. So you're there and you're present, you're participating in everything else, but you're still showing your displeasure and you're still showing, hey, I would like to get something else figured out here, or else you're not going to have me in pads when the time is right. That's something I'm curious about. And so we'll try to figure that out. It might be pretty clear to us if we get out there on Wednesday and he's not there, what it is that's exactly going on.
Other guys expected to be there that we had question marks lingering on: Trent Brown, Tyquan Thornton, Juju Smith-Schuster. Bill Belichick reporting that all three of those were among the 40 or so players who showed up early, 4 days early, and have been working out with the team. I feel like that's really positive news because my number one concern for this team is the left tackle position at this juncture.
I think it has to be. And if it's not, you've got receiver right there with it. But it's way up the list. And so you're right, Tom. The fact that he's been here 4 days, no hailstorm, no delays. We'll see if he's in shape. But I would say, all things being equal, you got almost nothing but good news from Bill Belichick at the podium today, which I do think is important. I think it's important that the vibes are high early in training camp, because if you want to hit the ground running in September, which I think you need to do, this is a kind of team where one game might be the difference between making the playoffs and not, determining that you've had a successful season and not. And you've got to really hit the ground running in September because the schedule is so difficult so early for them. So to get to where you need to be early September, I think you need to hit the ground running in early August. So to have these guys available and out there, that is very good news for the Patriots. Now it's just a question of how do they look once they are out there.
You mentioned Phil, wide receiver, as running side by side with offensive line and offensive tackle is a big concern. Bill Belichick was asked about DeAndre Hopkins. Here was his response when asked if he was disappointed about missing out on the borderline Hall of Fame wide receiver.
We talked to a number of players from the middle of June until now. Talked to other players now. So, there's a lot of roster movement at this time of year. It's like hundreds of other players we deal with through the course of the year. We have so many roster spots. Some sign here, some sign somewhere else. When there's an agreement, there's an agreement. When there's not, there's 31 other teams.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Listen, I want to encourage you to go and take your first swing at betting MLB on FanDuel and get 10 times your first bet amount in bonus bets. That's up to $200. And that's a lot, because just betting $20 means you'll land $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. That's $200 that you can spend betting everything from the money line to the over-under to who you think is going to hit the first home run. All on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Plus, when you win, you get paid instantly. There's no better place to bet on MLB than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So sign up today and visit FanDuel.com/NSBO to get up to $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com/NSBO. FanDuel, official partner of Major League Baseball.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Hope is here. GamblingHelplineMA.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support, Massachusetts. Call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 New York. 21 plus and present in select states. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino LLC. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit FanDuel.com/RG in Colorado, Iowa, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Tennessee, or Virginia. 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT-STEP to 53342 in Arizona. 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. 1-800-9-WITH-IT in Indiana. 1-800-522-4700 or visit ksgamblinghelp.com in Kansas. 1-877-770-STOP in Louisiana. Visit www.mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. 1-800-522-4700 in Wyoming or visit www.1800gambler.net in West Virginia.
So, Phil, no DeAndre. Bill went into that, but they did get Jalen Hurd. Okay, now quick on Jalen Hurd. He was a 2019 third-round pick. He's a big boy, 6'5", 229. Former five-star recruit as a running back, a 6'5" running back to Tennessee. He was there for 3 years, transferred to Baylor, played wideout, was drafted by San Francisco. He had a back, he had a knee, he got released out of football last year. Phil, you're a draftnik. What's your recollection on Jalen Hurd?
Yeah, physical specimen. You said a five-star recruit. The size, we were almost 230 pounds. I mean, people aren't going to want to hear this, but they shouldn't really care because the percentages of him actually making the team are so low. But he's got a N'Keal Harry-esque sort of body type, big, thick athlete. He's just been so banged up that he hasn't been able to stay on the field and really do anything in any sort of consistent manner since he's become a pro. And I'm just trying to pull up his Pro Football Reference page here.
0.
There's nothing
Didn't play a snap.
There's nothing there. So flyer on an athlete, don't expect much. But I do find it interesting, Tom, that they continue to kick the tires on these receivers, and they're trying to do it most recently since Hopkins has decided that he'll go to Tennessee with borderline NFL players. Denzel Mims, I think is more talented than that, but that's basically what he's been over the course of his career. Jalen Hurd, same deal, to a slightly lesser degree. And I just wonder if there's not at some point a big fish out there for them, would they not be interested? And because I just think you need a big fish to become an elite passing game. And so does somebody like Devontae Adams, and this is complete pie in the sky thinking, and this is not based on any conversations that I've had with anybody, but if the Raiders are 2-6 at the trade deadline. And Davante Adams is clearly upset because they've traded Derek Carr and now the team has no shot of anything. You've got all this cap space. He's a great player, and I'm just using him as an example, but would you try to make a move like that if you are in the hunt and a team like the Raiders or whoever it is not?
Yeah. I mean, again, you're hypothetically on Davante Adams, and the logic behind that for Las Vegas might not match up, but I get what you're saying. Whether it be trade deadline or whether it be releases, maybe there might be some cap casualties as we go through camp where guys, look, he's making too much money and he's going to be our fourth wide receiver, which would turn him into the second wide receiver here. I do like when you talk about.
Even that's not enough though. That's not that.
I know.
That's what I mean. Like if they know they need a receiver, they know they need depth there. Why is it these guys that they're looking at? Like, because
that's where they operate. Bill loves to seem like, hey, everybody else gave up on this guy. Look what I did with him. Stephen Neal, David Andrews, nobody wanted these guys. Jonathan Jones, who's a little fella, Dion Lewis,
Malcolm Butler.
Look what we did.
Right.
Here's a guy who's been given up on that Phil proposes could be the backup to Ramondre Stevenson. Who do you foresee? You took a flyer on it, and I love the point. Who will be the backup, according to you, from early edition on Monday, to Ramondre Stevenson when the season opens?
I went with Leonard Fournette. I know playoff Lenny has been on their minds for years now. They've liked him for a long time, and I get it, especially given what Bill Belichick values at that position, right? Size, toughness, but also versatility. I mean, I think especially at this point in his career, he's not LeGarrette Blount circa 2013. I really don't think he's got that kind of juice. I mean, they used to put LeGarrette Blount back there for kick returns, and he would create havoc on those. I mean, he was in the open fields. He was an athlete.
He was so good.
But what Fournette does that Blount really didn't was he can catch it. And I think having that sort of unpredictability in the backfield is something that Bill Belichick really values. We're seeing it with Ramondre Stevenson, who's, again, clearly a different player than Fournette at this point, where he's got more ability. But I think the idea of Fournette is something that they've liked for a while. They were interested in signing him last year. He visited as a free agent last year. He visited again this offseason. Brady called him, I guess, while he was in New England. That was the story at the time, and said, "What are you doing up there? Come back here, sign with us." And he did. And he caught, a million passes again last year with Brady when he was under duress for most of that season. So he can do a multitude of things. He's got experience. He has size. The Patriots like him. I just think there's a chance they end up bringing him in. And it's not Dalvin Cook, who's sort of the big name who comes in to help Ramondre Stevenson. It's Fournette.
Like it. What can we glean during these first pseudo OTA practices on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday from Mac Jones? What will you be looking for in terms of non-football observations that you can make about Mac?
Coaching interaction. I think that's an obvious one. What's it look like with Bill O'Brien? What's it look like with Bill Belichick? If there's any interaction there, we really didn't see that much on the field during the spring because Bill wasn't right in the middle of it with the offensive stuff. He was in the middle of it like he usually is when the offense and defense come together and he's screaming out, "Okay, 3rd and 4, you're on the 23. There's 2 minutes, 33 seconds left." So that'll be one. Bill O'Brien, we know both of these guys run hot, right? Like, how do those personalities mix in the summer as opposed to the spring where things are a little more laid back? I want to see what kind of leader he is because the offense, Tom, to me, needs leadership. They have David Andrews. I don't know who's leading on that side of the ball outside of Andrews and then Mac Jones. They just don't have that many dependable go-to guys. And so they need him to lead. And so how is he with his teammates? What kind of energy is he bringing to the field? What's his body language like? These are all things we scrutinized last year because it was so bad on one end of the spectrum. Can he get back to the other end this summer? That's something that I think we'll all be tracking.
Do you think Christian Gonzalez is going to project as being the first guy out there in a lot of even the walkthroughs reps, depth things, 7-on-7, going against the ones and being opposite Jack Jones with Duggar in the middle and Adrian Phillips next to him?
I do, because I don't think they can afford not to have him getting ready in that manner. It does get to, in some ways, the Mac Jones conversation that we've had a few times too, where no competition with Bailey Zappi. You got to get him as many reps as he can so he can get ready for September. Okay. Just don't screw around with the guy's workload in the summer, because you got to get him ready to play. I feel the same way about Christian Gonzalez. I think they need him to be a starter week one. They don't have many boundary guys, right, Tom? I mean, Don't you feel the same way, or would you like to see them ease him in?
No, it's something that, Dev mentioned to us in the process leading up to the draft. Jack Jones is really the only true boundary corner. Jonathan Jones can do it and can do it at a decent level, but there's a point at which he can get lit up. And same thing with Marcus Jones, and same thing with any other Jones. Is there another one? Who am I missing? Sean Wade. It'd be nice if someday he does something. People forget he's even on the roster. But yeah, you need him out there from the outset because he's just such a smooth mover. It's not like there's chaos there. It's not as if he's going to be running around like a squirrel in the middle of the highway and being frantic. It's just, that was what impressed me the most in watching him move. Yeah, he might go to the wrong spot sometimes, but he's not like wild out there. Butler or JC Jackson were guys who would get beaten and then make it up while the ball was in the air. This guy's so smooth. I just don't see him being beaten too often because of the way he changes direction and his length. So get him out there. Let's wrap this up. We're going to have some players later today. We will certainly have all the coverage of that on NBCSportsBoston.com, but also please catch us on Training Camp Central. Phil and I will be hosting that at 6 p.m. every day for about the next week or so, a little bit more than that. Of course, we will have Early Edition and Boston Sports Tonight. Phil, the next Pats podcast will be kicking in, yes?
Yes.
We will have Patriots Talk podcast at least twice a week, and probably a little bit more than that as we try and put a bow around things. Also, come to us after practice. We will have quick and dirty updates on NBCSportsBoston.com. I'll be giving you my quick hitters from camp. In the immediate aftermath, Phil is going to be charting a lot of the data on the quarterbacks once they start throwing in earnest. And we will also be doing some videos, which will put a bow around what we see. Always rely on our guys on the desk who quickly turn things around and get them up on the sites. Darren Hartwell, Justin Ledger, Nick Goss. So keep your eyes open. We're going to give you more than you can handle. Best in the business. Did a little Benditson for you there. All right. Peace out, Girl Scouts.